So I'm heading back down to Appomattox, Virginia for the VDEM Ground Search and Rescue certification and training. And this is going to be the evaluation and testing. I think there's a little bit of classroom, but not much. Mostly it's going to be exercises. It's going to be doing things in the field. So that should be interesting. I know it is supposed to be in the 40s throughout the day. So 40 to 45 is what the weather forecast says. But at night it's going to be between 30 and 26 degrees. So that should make sleeping in the cabins a little bit more interesting. So the impression I got last time is that I may not get much sleep on Saturday night. They're planning some kind of joint operation between the STLs and the STMs. So that's search team leaders and search team members, and possibly even the management group. I'm not quite sure, but they're probably going to have a full-out simulation and probably go into the evening and late into the evening with night operations, which is probably the most challenging part when it comes to land navigation, because you can't trust your terrain because you really can't see your terrain. You're limited by your flashlights. Having done a little bit of night navigation with compass and maps, it's not easy. Alright, so I made it to the campsite. I'm actually setting up my bunk now. What I'm planning on doing is actually taking some of the spare mattresses and basically making myself a little cave inside one of the lower bunks. This should really help with the insulation, especially since there are these right here, these little air vents you can see outside. You can see outside with that. So for a bit more thermal protection, you can use an emergency blanket. This way it will reflect the heat that I'm generating back on me. Since the last time you couldn't see me for some of the videos, some of the segments very well, I brought a light with me. Okay. Next up, air mattress. All right. That looks good. Now I got a full sleeping bag. And now got a mummy sleeping bag I'm putting inside that. If you're wondering why I got so many layers here, it's supposed to get down to 30 degrees tonight and down to the 20s tomorrow night. So I definitely want to stay warm. I don't have a heater, so what I have to go by is my own personal heat.
So having some layers like this emergency blanket, blocking off air circulation, insulating as much as I can. These are all things that will maximize and hopefully keep me nice and toasty and warm.
In my last little segment, I got in and made my shelter and cabin and everything else. Turns out I did eventually get a roommate in my cabin. So I found out when trying to get back to my cabin, and someone was sleeping in the cabin. So pleasant surprise. As soon as we came in, we watched a couple videos on litter handling and some of the methods. Then we went right into an exercise. So the first thing, and actually, I'm going to step back and show you. This is a litter. So you've probably seen this on television and whatnot. What we have the patient actually inside with the litter. This is the head, and that's the foot, and we use webbing. This has actually got a harness system in, but you can see we got plenty of webbing here that we would use to actually wrap the person around, and you loop it around these little loops here and go crisscross across the patient and keep them in. So this way they're not going to rock around. And actually over here is another style of litter. We have used tarp for our protective layer against moisture and everything else, and we got wool blankets that we would use for the thermal layer. So our very first exercise for the evening was to go and practice packaging and patient, and once we did that, we actually did carries. So we worked on our commands so we can be able to function as a team and carry the litter out. And using flashlights and headlamps, we would go through the woods and practice going down and up the different hills through various terrain in the dark and navigating through there. So that was pretty much our entire evening. We spent about, I think, 2 hours, something like that, going up and down these hills and over logs and everything else. And then we finished up with pack check, going over our essential gear, make sure we had everything that we needed.
I had to go to my car. I had to go to my car and just sit in my truck and just like calm down.
No, people were.
No, just.
So let me see if I can recap what we did today. We start off the day going over some of the basics of survival skills. We watched a video, a National Geographic special about survival and what happens at different stages in hot, cold, and what happens if you had got lost in the woods and drank water that was not purified. So it gave 3 different scenarios, all from actual real life events. But the real takeaway from all that is actually your mental state. Anything you can do to make your awareness better that would put you in a better situation mentally and psychologically will ultimately help you in your survival. We also went over things like hyperthermia and hypothermia, one being hot, one being cold, symptoms and warning signs for that. After that, we did a bit of land navigation. We went over more in detail about how to use your map tool and your compass to be able to get a bearing and be able to keep that bearing. We did a land navigation kind of walkthrough where we went over different land features, identifying them in the field and trying to figure out where we were, give coordinates, identify all the land features in place. So that's really good practice. So we also did a hasty search exercise. Our search team leaders class, they had been given task assignments and were given multiple search team member, which is what I'm actually trying to get my certification on, is search team member. And I was given we're given a task to go out and search this area and notify anything that you found. So we would actually go and sweep the area and call in over radio the coordinates of where we were and what we found, and they would tell us what they want us to do, whether they want us to flag it in place, bag and tag it, and then bring it back to base with us. They determined over the radio what they wanted us to do with the clues that we found. So that brings you up to date as to what we did throughout the morning and afternoon. We're about to break out for our main exercise.
So we just finished the search exercise for the evening, and man, that was a really cool exercise. It's just basically we had two subjects to find, and we each had our own task assignments, and we're doing night operations, so we had to go and rely on compasses and taking our azimuths or bearings and hold to those bearings and look for catching features to be able to make sure we don't overshoot our objectives, and we knew where we were at all times. And we had to try and do some proper planning. We basically had two volunteers that were our victims, and we packaged a patient and lifted and brought him all the way back down to the base. And that was pretty cool because at night with the patient and all the people we had, I think it's like close to 30 or 40 people to be able to go and carry this person up and around. And all of our headlamps are glowing red. So you see like a sea of red people marching in and out, carrying the litter down and then handing off, and people marching, going ahead of the line. It was actually a pretty cool sight to see.
It's about 20 after midnight, and I just wanted to make a quick comment. I did make a slight adjustment with my bedding. Before I had this space blanket a little bit higher up against the ceiling, but I'm actually have to hold it up because right now I'm actually having it closer to my body. That way it can actually reflect more of my heat back to me, and already I can tell a huge difference. That being said, I think I'm also getting used to the weather, because 30 degrees, it's like 34 or something like that. I'm able to walk outside in sandals and a t-shirt, and it's starting to feel comfortable. So I'm definitely getting used to it. I mean, it's one of those things that if you're outdoors all the time, you get used to the weather you're in.
I'm in the process of leaving the camp, the 4-H camp at Holiday Lake. This is the final day, just past my search team member certification. So as soon as it's in the system, I am officially a Virginia Ground Search and Rescue member. So that's it's cool to find out that right away that I passed all 3 tests.